Well, this is interesting here. If we read this, it says the letters, the 42-letter name of God associated with Bina. Bina is Saturn. The last letter of the Hebrew alphabet, blah, blah, blah. And then it says it's called Tau, or which translates into IP. IP is an IP address. Here we go again, see? Once again, here we have the internet connected with Saturn, and now it's the name of God. See, something's going on here. I'm sure that I'm onto something. Because Tau or Tev translates into IP. I mean, come on. What's really going on here? Okay, so here it says spelled Tau or Tav spelled IP. So you have IP. Well, that's the IP address. But I went and researched this further, and it's even more interesting because that's the translation to IP. But in Hebrew it looks different. So let me just bring that up. Okay, here's Tau, the 22nd letter of the Hebrew alphabet, translated as T. Also spelled T or Tav, like the other article said. Spelled out, now that symbol is IP, or the Tau cross, which is the X that you see for Saturn. And here it designates it's the planet Saturn. And this is for additional correspondences, see Saturn. So, and the XX1 it would be 21, the world. We're in the 21st century. So, this Yesod and Malkuth, those are other dimensions. But do you see where this is going? It all keeps revolving right back to Saturn. And what they're saying is this thing is God, and for all intents and purposes, it's a freaking machine. It has to be. It absolutely has to be. It can't be anything else. It's a machine with it's a living machine. This is the very first computer that was operational, that was made right after World War II. It's called ENIAC, which is really interesting because there's only two people in the Bible that didn't die of physical death. Enoch and Elijah. Enoch. And let's see, Enoch in the Bible was the one that was a go-between for the fallen angels, which obviously came from Saturn. And so God liked him so much that it said that he just vanished, that God took him. He didn't die of physical death. So here we have a computer named Enoch, and you have a man named Enoch. It's a little more than a coincidence. At some point, things stop being a coincidence and they become evidence. And this is just going completely along with the storyline. Again and again, if I'm proving it to nobody, I'm proving it to myself. This is the artist's rendition of Enoch. If you look at the very top in the circle right above his head, you'll see an X in the circle. That's time and space. You see it? Right above the top of his head? If you look where his left ear is, you see where the moon is? Okay, and you can see that it's mechanical. It's a machine, but it's still a computer. And if you look in the back, look behind the form, you'll see that there's writing in Latin. Okay, so whoever drew this picture, again, there's people out there that know what the truth is. If you notice the eyes are cubed, just like that picture of Glenn Beck, but it's a machine. So we have Saturn at the top, we have Moon where the left ear is, or would be the right ear, I'm sorry, where his right ear would be, and then the information's going out the other side. And if you remember the little schematic I drew, with Saturn being the computer of the cube which we live in, then you'll understand. I'll put it up again here right now. Okay, so here we have the schematic I drew. The computer is Saturn itself, or the time cube, because that's what sets what goes on down here is by what goes on up there, as above, so below. It's powered by the sun. The moon is a communications interface, which is also powered by the sun. The virtual reality that we live in is called Earth, and that's why we're a prison planet. When Alex Jones says, prison planet, he's not referring to the governments. It's because Saturn regulates everything that goes on down here. It's the way it is. Jesus said, "I'm not the ruler of this world." It's Saturn. It's Satan. You know, those names are just interchangeable. The information comes from Saturn, it goes to the moon, and it comes down here to Earth. This is, in my opinion, and it's only my opinion, this is not to sway anybody's religious or spiritual beliefs. I think this is how the system works. There's just too much evidence saying that this thing is a machine. And even the Jews, once again, I'll say, they say it's a spiritual, numerical entity. Well, what entity has numbers in it? The computers do. That's all I can base this on, unless there's something else. I mean, this is just a schematic I drew just from bits and pieces and information. But it goes from Saturn to the moon to the Earth. Once again, like I said, I'm probably completely wrong, but it's nothing else. It's some nifty artwork. And here it is to tell you that ENIAC's descendants are great computers and whatnot. You know, the Bible talks about the watchers. They watch everybody. Well, what are they referring to? You know, first of all, are we in a time loop? Because this is kind of alluding to that. The watchers, they're computers because we're linked up to them. They know everything that we do. It's just a theory. It's only a theory. Well, here we go. I started checking around to find out computer systems that were linked to Saturn. Come up with one called Unix. Now this is interesting. Saturn is a male-female planet. In other words, it's at odds with itself. Unix were sexless, and that's where androgyny comes from. So we look at this. This is a Unix system, and what do they got? They have a big black X, which represents Saturn. You know, I mean, once again, the big black X. You know, that's your tau, or your crossing T, which is an X, which you read earlier in the video, it represents the planet Saturn. So here we have another computer system. Aside from the browsers that I showed you went back to Saturn. Now this one, Unix, goes back to Saturn itself. It's very, very interesting, very compelling. And speaking of the machine, yes, you remember this video? Well, he's got a black X on his mouth just like the computer's logo has a black X. Interesting. Okay, so here we are here. With the universal symbol, you've seen it a million times. You look at the way it's written. They stretch out the word universal over the planet, and it creates the illusion of it being Saturn. But what's interesting is if you take that word universal and you squash it down, then you wind up with this. If you squash it down, you get Unix. Forwards, backwards, reversed, upside down. And interesting, in the middle, it makes a cube. So something's being said here. Am I on the right track? I don't know. You'll have to make your own decision. All this stuff is very compelling. Once again, it's not designed to change anybody's mind. I still personally believe in Jesus because I think he's the only one that came down into the machine or into the program and beat the machine at its own game and offered us a way to get out. Okay, that's my belief, and I will not throw that away. So then I run across this. Let's repair it then, do a remote ping from Mars to Saturn. Well, a ping is when you go from point A to point B and it tells you what the time is. Why are they using planetary bodies as nodes, as connecting points? See, I don't understand that. Verify Mars IP address for Saturn for me. See, this is all very suspect. This is not out of a movie. This is not out of a play. This was out of a manual. Something's going on. It's not hard to read between the lines. I just wanted to put this in there so that you guys would get the gist of it. Now the information on the left is really not, it doesn't really mean anything to me. It's the information on the right where it's listing what? Mars, Saturn, Jupiter. Once again, why are they using connecting points named after planets? It's because I really think that they are firing this in between planets. Because if Saturn is a spiritual numerical entity, then the rest of those planets, which are on the Kabbalistic tree of life, each one of those is an entity itself. And a different entity, which would explain all of this stuff with the UFOs and all that other stuff. But the big dog is Saturn. But it is not God. It's not God. Saturn is what creates all of our laws, our laws of justice on this planet. And I'm pretty sure that in Revelations, of the four horsemen, the black one, which carries the scales of justice, is Saturn. Because that fits that to a T. The red one is Mars, the pale one is the moon, which is death, and then the last one is Neptune. So, this still leaves a lot of questions, but I think I've answered some, I hope. If nothing else, it'd make a great science fiction movie. And to end the video, this is the Hebrew letter, and it represents pi squared, and we know that the symbols go back to Saturn. This just goes on and on and on. This is not my last video, but I just wanted to give you guys a little bit more in depth of what's going on, how religion is mimicking or covering for the actual truth. Once again, it does not mean that Jesus didn't exist. It doesn't mean that people that believe in religion are bad people. There's very good people in every religion. But I'm just following a trail of breadcrumbs, that's all. And thanks for paying attention.